So ready? Okay. Today I had discussion with His Excellency Mr. Laurent Fabius, French Minister for Foreign Affairs, and who is on an official visit to India, and he is the host for Paris. The meeting was not only good but very fruitful. We had informal, formal, all kinds of discussion. It's a continuation of discussion since Paris. And up to Paris, it will continue even after. So India attaches great importance to the visit of the French minister as it reflects the commitment of the two sides to further deepen bilateral relations. Today's meeting was also significant because both India and France look forward to a productive and fruitful outcome of 2015 Paris Agreement. I would like to express my deep gratitude to His Excellency Laurent Fabius for assuring that France would act as a facilitator for all the parties to the 2015 climate conference to create an atmosphere of trust, reconcile viewpoints, and enable the unanimous adoption of a global agreement in Paris. I'm also grateful to His Excellency Fabius has agreed to convene ministerial level, a high official level meeting sometime during the middle of this year. This was one suggestion which we discussed, and he has agreed for considering that to discuss issues on which there are differences or there are various different opinions of the world, so which often remain unresolved at the negotiators level. This shall pave the way to iron out any differences, if any, and help in adoption of a smooth agreement and avoid hurdle at the Paris conference. So you will also not have to wake up till midnight or even beyond. And Paris, as the city is, will give us a best result for the mankind, because this climate change challenge is real and we all have to do it. From Kyoto Protocol, where only one annexed parties were expected to do, now the thing is that all countries have realized, are taking actions, and will put forth their INDCs. That's a great development, way forward. And therefore, we had very good discussion, and I welcome once again Fabius. Now I hand over to you.
I will speak English.
Yes, you whatever
Because
you there is French also.
It's
You
probably
can.
easier. First, I would like to thank very warmly my colleague and friend, the Minister of Environment for India. It has been a pleasure and an honor to be with you today. At the beginning of the day, in the conference with our friends, with Dr. Pachori, with Mr. Schwarzenegger, with your ministerial colleague. And then I was honored to be received by Prime Minister Modi, and then by my friend and colleague. The idea is, the object of my visit is very simple. We all want success in COP21 in Paris in December, and the role of the presidency is to listen to all the members, to be impartial, to give the growing trust. It's a word which is very important, and obviously to have a spirit of compromise, but also of ambition in order to achieve the necessary results that are required. We discussed what are the means in order to get there, and I go along with what my friend and colleague said. In the past, there have been some failures in the COPs. The reasons were different, but one of the reasons was that the major issues were tackled not at the last minute, but very late. And the issues are so important and so complex that we have to tackle them in depth and early enough. And it's the reason why we have to have not only at a technical but also at a political, in the good sense of the word, meetings in order to try and, if the viewpoints are different, to get them closer. And we shall act that way with our Peruvian friend, because we must not forget that we are preparing that with our excellent Peruvian colleague. Now, I've been impressed too by the fact that India is dedicated to achieve success in Paris. Already decisions have been taken which are very significant. They have been explained this morning. The objectives which are set for solar energy, the objectives which are set in a different way for nuclear energy, the fact that 100 smart cities are the objective, and a general approach about how to have different thinking about the question of consumption. And all that which is perfectly in line with the thoughts of Prime Minister Modi already when he was Chief Minister in Gujarat, and that he keeps on there, are very positive. Therefore, I want to confirm that obviously India will play a key role in the success of COP21, that we have to prepare the conference in close cooperation, and that as chair, I am at the disposal of the different members, and particularly of our Indian friends.
Yes.
Did you discuss nuclear cooperation with the Prime Minister when you met?
We touch the different subjects of our strategic partnership, which is really impressive. In the field of defense, in the field of nuclear energy, in the field of transportation, in the field of urban planning, urban development, tourism, space, education, well, many areas. And we did not discuss that in full details on every subject, but as you know, we shall be honored by the official visit of Prime Minister Modi this spring, and obviously we shall prepare this visit with particular accuracy in order to have results. And I have been impressed by the constant preoccupation of Prime Minister Modi about our positive partnership. You know probably that after the attacks which intervened in Paris, Prime Minister Modi has been kind enough in order to give a special phone call to the French president, and the French people have been really, it has moved us. We have discussed too about terrorism, because if I may say so, the context is different, but it's a common concern everywhere. And all that subject will be dealt with when Prime Minister Modi will be in France.
Mr. Fabius, I wanted to know how hopeful are you of the Paris 2015 agreement? How successful would it be? And the second, I want to know, could you identify 3 significant differences that you just mentioned, that there are differences, but we would like to know what are those 3 significant differences that you would actually like to address with India?
Differences on what?
or I would say roadblocks to a
Can I answer?
successful Paris 2015?
Well, in fact, when we are speaking about the partnership between India and France, the question is not differences, it's because we are together. No, there are issues which are not easy, but general issues. Well, they are well known. The question of differentiation, it's well known. The question of mitigation and adaptation, which is well known. The question of financing, which is well known. Well, there are a series of issues which do not make a difference between India and France, but which are real issues that have to be discussed and to be dealt with. What was your other question?
How hopeful you are?
Of a successful agreement in Paris.
You know, I was saying this morning an anecdote that when Paris has been, France has been chosen as a host of the conference, many people came to me and say, well, Mr. Fabius, good luck. And I was happy with that. No, it's very difficult because when you have to get together 195 countries, 195 countries by consensus, and when it is a very important and difficult matter, well, if you are reasonable, you say it's difficult. Therefore, you have to deal with that with humility, but humility and ambition as well. Anyway, you know, I will refer to what Ban Ki-moon, the UN Secretary General, was saying, and I think his motto is good. He said, anyway, there is no plan B because there is no planet B. It's a good summary. It's a good summary.
Mr. Fabius, two questions. First one, French position and the European position is somewhat at odds with the Indian position on lots of issues on the climate negotiations. During your talks today, was there any convergence on some of these issues, at resolving these issues? For example, on what should be included in the INDCs? For example, on the issues that you have mentioned on technology, on finance, was there any sort of convergence that happened today?
Yeah, sure. But when you speak about differences, you know, in Lima, we have adopted a text.
Which is by all.
You remember, by all, a unanimous text. The first text was not accepted, and then there was a discussion, and came a new text which was different to a certain extent, especially on INDC, the reason why I'm quoting that, and it has been adopted by unanimity.
Yeah.
Therefore, we must stick to that. It doesn't mean that it's all the problem, but on the INDC, for instance, on what is an INDC, it's spelled out in the text. And we have to be faithful to the Lima agreement because it has been adopted. No, what strikes me is more the fact that we are tackling these very important issues with a common will to come to success in Paris. If there are difficulties, we shall face them, we shall solve them, and am struck by the general goodwill.
I think one or two questions.
My question is to both the ministers. In light of the commitment shown and expressed by the developed nations towards helping the developing nations, especially India, in terms of combating climate change, now there is a very strong perception in India that the developed nations as a whole, they have been very, very protectionist in terms of transfer of technology because of strong IPR rights. Now, to what extent that is true, and what are you doing, or France is doing to enable to, let this ease up technology transfer, to facilitate this technology transfer, which has been.
Well, it's difficult to answer in a general way, but I would say that if we want, and we want to have a success, the question of finance and the question of technology must be dealt with. Because when you are speaking to any country, especially to developing countries, they need technology. Either they get the technology, okay, but if they don't get it, they have to have it. And for instance, I know that India is particularly keen about solar energy. Okay, and it will be produced in India.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. You know, the times have changed, and you cannot say we rich countries are having the technologies and the products will be bought by developing countries. It's not the way it goes. You know, apart from dealing with COP21, I am in charge of foreign trade. And I know because I'm traveling around, when you're discussing with different countries, you need transfer of technology. It's the way it goes. And it's necessary for the development of both developing nations and rich nations. And so far as France is concerned, we are everywhere doing that way, because otherwise there is no possible trade. And I think it's the experience you have. And when Prime Minister Modi developed the Make in India, it's something which is well understood. For instance, I've been, we have paid a visit with the head of the French Railway this morning to the Minister of Railways. And he was saying that he was working with the Indian railways, and on the basis on transfer of technology and the SNCF, because it's his name, they have 3,500 Indian people working in India. You cannot say, well, we shall produce that in France and we shall sell them to India. It's not the way it goes now. Maybe it was true 30 years ago, but now it's not the way. It's not the way it goes.
Developing countries have been
Last.
complaining, and that Western world always asked developing countries to lessen their emission, and on its own they continue with a particular lifestyle with high energy consumption. Can you list out certain steps that France has taken, say the French government or French people, say during last 2-3 years or a decade, that has added to a climate-friendly lifestyle?
Yeah, surely. Not only France, but Europe. As you may know, last October, Europe has decided a sort of common INDC, if I may say so, which is very ambitious in diminishing the emissions. And it's fair. It's quite fair, because we have taken advantage, if I may say so, in the past, but now we have to make efforts. And
That's why I want to know the steps. Can you list out any particular steps?
well, many steps in renewable energy, saving energy, taxing carbon emissions.
No lifestyle changes.
No carbon budgeting.
Oh, the plasters, for instance, now they are forbidden. You know, and a series of things. Developing electric cars, and really, it's the way it goes. And so far as Europe, because I don't want to put the focus in front, but Europe has taken steps which are going in the right way. But it means that everybody has to take decisions.
Mr. Fabius,
No, last.
That's finished.
Last one, last
Okay,
and
last
that's
question.
okay.
My other query relates to nuclear energy. It is not entirely dealing, you know. So the India and America last month reached an understanding on how to resolve the liability issue related to nuclear. Is that a template that works with France as well? Is liability an issue that needs to be resolved when Mr. Modi visits France later this year?
Well, the Indian Prime Minister will say what he considers, because it belongs to India to decide for India. But I think the elements which have been agreed can apply to other nations, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Climate fund.
Yeah, that we have already discussed. Yeah. I'm meeting you tomorrow again.
most humbly